Jackie Fox and Friends. In association with Fulcrum Politics. Present to you, the dear viewer. Whatever this nonsense is. Previously.
I don't know if fix the system is well, because the system might have been broken to start with, but do something to make it a little bit easier for people that want to get involved to get involved. Because basically what the structure is, this is going to be a dirty word, so all y'all out there, this is going to be a word that you don't like, all right? But technically Fulcrum Politics is a super PAC.
Oh no, not super PACs. Oh, Lord.
Unlimited shadow dark money from any corporation I ever want.
Okay, so what foreign governments are paying you?
I'm actually not based in North Carolina at all. That's what people have accused me of too. I've lived in North Carolina my entire life, people, so don't worry. But yeah, it was so strange. I spent probably a good month or two trying to figure out exactly how to set this thing up, because I did not want to set it up as a super PAC. I was like, this is such a dirty word for people. Like, this is a word that scares people because it's a concept that's been taken and warped extremely. And at the end of the day, it's the only thing that really made sense, because this exists for the benefit of all third parties. That's kind of what we're going for. It's not just libertarian, not just the Greens, not just the Constitution Party, not just, even though they're not official, the Party of Socialism and Liberation. Even though they're not official, the American Solidarity Party. Those are the five that have the best petitions with the state government at this point. Because it's for the movement overall. Just creating a normal political action committee doesn't make sense, because you kind of have to link yourself to one particular party. Yeah. So Super PAC was the only way to kind of cover everybody and still be able to have the flexibility. Because my initial thought was to just make like an LLC in a business and just do a biggest business, but then the state yells at you because a business can't do those things. That's why they created some of these other options.
And if you were advertising and stuff like that, then that would be considered campaign donations and stuff like that, and you'd really run into all sorts of, even just large amounts of paperwork, even if it wasn't like running over a line.
So much paperwork over the last few months, because the Facebook page started in July. That was when I officially started. That's when it exists. If you go to the transparency form for the Facebook page, that's what it'll say. It says like January 20th or something like that. The Super PAC itself was not formed until mid-November. That's how long it took, and how many starts and stops, talking with the federal government, talking with banks to get bank accounts, talking with the state, trying to figure out exactly how to set this thing up, trying to just so many ridiculous steps, to the point where the bank themselves had to kind of bend the rules, because it was a terrible trifecta of inactivity that I was about to be subjected to. All right? See if this makes any sense.
Okay.
See if this makes any sense. In order to have a bank account, the bank has to have your state ID number, so they can tell, yes, you technically exist. That's fine. We have we have this thing that you exist. We can make you a bank account. Done. However, in order to get the state ID number from the state, we have to give them a bank account in order for them to be able to, in order for them to know what they're watching.
So like a personal bank account? Or?
I did end up making a business bank account, just because if other people end up getting involved.
But you probably needed like a tax ID for the business.
Yes, but then with the federal government, there's things you have to do in terms of because that was my very first thing I did. Because after research, it ended up being the easiest thing. You guys can use this as a step-by-step guide to form your own super PAC if you want. All right. So we can make, if you're interested, contact me. I can lead you through all of this, at least in North Carolina. So very first stage was the federal government. Even then, in order to get permission from the federal government to be a super PAC in a state, you have to tell them your ID number and what state you're being incorporated in, so that they can kind of hand off. They can have. They know you exist, but they hand off all the responsibility for monitoring you to the state. So The federal government has to know what state and your ID number. The state needs a bank account. The bank needs your state ID. They all need something from each other, and there's no way to get it all done. So at the end of the day, the bank that I ended up going with was very kind and decided to say, all right, you have your federal ID number, even if it's provisional, based on getting permission from the state. We're going to go with this. So I honestly don't know what I would have done if the bank that I'm using had not decided to just be like, all right, you're just some random guy, we'll make this work, that's fine, whatever. Because I'm sure in their minds it was kind of like, this is just some random guy trying to do something, sure, whatever. But
yeah.
This isn't some like multinational corporation trying to set up bank accounts. It's just some random dude. We can make this work. This is fine.
But even though you're saying that, like, I feel like with all the weird like circling back and all of this hassle, that this is the kind of thing that was not set up for an individual to do. It was set up for you to have a big stack of money, which you can distribute to like 10 accountants and people who've like studied this for 10 years and gone to law school and know all the ins and outs and know like how to make the backroom deals with the guy at the bank that'll make this work, even though it shouldn't work, even though it's not really, from the way you're describing it, designed to be able to work. And yeah, like an individual person with the money that they have in their wallet, that's,
not unless you have time, frustration from this not existing, and some very understanding bankers, and actually a very understanding woman at the state that made things a lot easier too, because she was kind of like, I can't really bend the rules, but here's what you should do to try and make this happen. She was super nice. But that's the super frustrating thing, is that this entire experience has jaded me to the point that I just recognized, like, so much of the system is designed against us individually getting involved. They want you to incorporate, but like become a group, so that then they can take the giant cudgel of the state and just bah! They want to have like a nice, they don't want to pick you off one by one, they want to get you all together. And then, sorry if that was really loud. And then just absolutely just stomp on you. And it was just so incredibly frustrating. It really was. Like, I would go weeks waiting for a response from the federal government, weeks waiting for a response from the bank, weeks waiting for a response from the state government, getting permission to do all this. And none of that could be happening at the same time. It was always, you have to do one, wait weeks, and you have to do the next one, waiting weeks, and the next one, waiting weeks. You couldn't layer these things on top of each other because they all need something from each other. Yeah. And it's just ridiculous. It really is. The tools of the state are not designed for us to use. No. They're designed for what I was talking about earlier, like people that devote their entire life to this. And it's just incredibly frustrating. It really is.
But you have taken that first step in making it possible for individuals to be able to do this. And you've obviously appealed to make that more available to other people who want to organize in this way, which is very important. Like, I didn't even realize any of this coming into this, but this may actually be the most important part of this whole discussion.
I hope so.
I do too. I hope it becomes important. That's on y'all.
Makes it important. Yeah, I know super PAC is a dirty word, but the state makes it to where the dirty word is the only way to make it work. So blame them.
So speaking of super PACs being a dirty word, and you kind of advocating for us to take that word back, how do you feel about AOC's new super PAC? Have you heard about this?
It was just in the last week, I believe. Mm-hmm. I heard about it. I haven't really looked too much at it.
I haven't had a tremendous amount of time to look at it either.
Keep talking, I'll research.
Yes, please. So here's what I know so far, and Nick will correct me here in a minute if I have said anything just live asinine.
Fact checker.
Yes. This is what more things need. CNN, you fucking hear me? Okay. So what AOC is doing right now, this takes its roots in the Democratic establishment giving AOC a bunch of trouble over her vow to primary against moderate Republicans that are not doing the people's will.
Moderate Democrats.
Yes. You know what?
Of course she's
the moderates all... Yeah, exactly. It's easy to get them confused, and that's the problem, and that's why she's fighting back by forming a super PAC so that, instead of taking this established party money, all of this laundered corporate money, essentially, they have a way to stand up to these people through a super PAC. And there's probably a bunch of people who are just reading the headlines. And again, I haven't done a tremendous amount of research, so I'm like this much better than the people that I'm about to decry. But there's probably people who are reading the headlines and going, "Oh, AOC starting a super PAC, so I guess she's evil and corrupt, just like everyone else."
Just like me, I'm evil and corrupt too.
Oh no!
Ha! Take that soundbite out of context.
And here I am platforming him. Can you believe it?
So basically, it's her way of trying to fight back against the blacklisting rule again for contractors and consultants. That's the main reason to do it. That's the big thing is if AOC had lost her 2018 primary election to Joe Crowley, anyone that worked with her would have been blacklisted from working on any other campaign.
Wow.
The DNC has a very strict rule on you cannot work for people that are challenging our incumbents. And apparently this is a way to try and provide monetary sustenance for people that want to exist outside of that very controlled ecosystem. So kudos to her. Kudos to AOC.
Because unfortunately,
she's doing the right thing.
Unfortunately, our elections are very expensive. There really isn't a way around that. Very much, especially presidential elections.
It's the other reason I'm focusing on state level. They're going to be cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't speak for other states. I understand that we're probably in like the top 20 or 30% in terms of how expensive it is just to get your name on the ballot. But here in North Carolina, it's about $1 million. Not for advertising, just to get your name on the ballot, just to pay a registration fee so that people can vote for you. How ridiculous is that? And how much better of a reason do you need to put money into Bernie Sanders' war coffers now?
It's ridiculous. It's so frustrating. Because whenever people bring up things like this, whether it's people yelling at me online or bringing up how hard it is, or me thinking to myself how hard it is, I'm just like, what's the point? Like, if we see any benefit, it's not going to happen for like another, Bernie Sanders, different case. He's got a national movement. But in terms of this, like, it's going to take 10, 20 years for this thing to happen. I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah.
The world could have blown up in 10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't know. It's frustrating. There's so many obstacles, like navigating a minefield. It really is. Whether it's for independent candidates like you're talking about in terms of just running by yourself, getting on the ballot, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. And the worst part is that they just made it easier a few years ago, and it's still a nightmare. Like, I don't remember quite what the requirement was before the General Assembly lowered the requirements, but I'm just like, it's still a nightmare. This is ridiculous. But I understand part of what it is. They don't want super duper cuckoo crazy people just being able to run and taking up space on the ballot. I understand that. But that's not an important enough reason to just make it impossible for normal people. It's ridiculous, but I hate it.
And also, if we didn't put 80 or 90% of the tax burden on the working class, maybe we wouldn't have to, charge millions of dollars to these presidential candidates to kind of make up the difference.
I think Andrew Yang in not this last debate, but the one before, spoke about that really well, talking about how the reason our politics keep defaulting to centrist candidates, keep defaulting to very mainstream candidates, is because people that want to support radical candidates, change candidates that are not approved by the powers that be, they don't have the means or the time to actually support them. He's talking about how, like, the reason we don't see more black women. I think that was a specific example he used in the debate. Was the reason we don't have more black women running is because black women don't have a whole lot of disposable income because the system beats them to a bloody pulp.
Yeah.
Whether it's over wages, over time, over disposable income, over expectations, over cultural biases, any sorts of things. Like, there's sexual biases, all sorts of stuff. There's so many reasons that anyone that is not a white male, that is a mainstream, that thinks in a mainstream way,
especially a centrist or moderate way.
Like, anyone that's not that, there's so much in the way for them being able to actually express themselves. And then we're like, oh wow, we're going to end up with Joe Biden again. Oh no, how did that happen? We all know exactly how it happened. We just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's super frustrating.
Yeah.
Because it's unacceptable. And I hate it. But yeah, it's ridiculous. I hate it. I hate many things.
Well, is there anything that you love that you would want to talk about?
Just the outpouring of people that are interested in this kind of stuff. Like every day when I go on Facebook and check in on things, I'm just like, oh, there's more people that like it. At least in my little corner of the country, I can try. I feel like I'm actually trying to do something good. So I'm very happy. And seeing Bernie Sanders blow everything up is also great too. I love watching that. I love watching him and Tulsi and Yang blowing things up for people. I love the idea that we're kind of tipping the apple cart in a way that we're not supposed to. Look at us, the peasants are getting boisterous. I love it. But that gets me excited more than anything else, is that people are less and less willing to just accept what we're being told to do.
Yeah.
Where there's less and less willingness to just take it lying down.
Yeah.
And people are rising up in a way that I don't think we ever really have before, and it gets me so excited.
And I don't know if people are gonna get like tired of me plugging Bernie Sanders in this interview, but that's why I love the fact that he is building a movement now of working class people, not even the people who would typically vote, just everyone, not even the people who would typically vote Democrat, but everyone, because that's an amazing failsafe. So even if he doesn't make it through the primary, God forbid, we have that movement. And if he gets screwed again, the way that he did in 2016, look it up.
My prediction, he's going to get screwed again because they really don't want him.
I mean,
I hate it.
You saw the last debate, right? Like, the corporate media is already going after him, and they seem to be synergizing with the corporate Democrats on this.
The last debate pissed me off so much.
But I really hope that if something like that were to happen, this movement that we are building would rise up, regardless of who gets elected president, even if we, vote blue no matter who and get a Biden or Warren or whatever, that we would be in the streets regardless.
Jackie. Don't make me sad. I don't want Joe.
Just think of the revolution. Don't think of Joe. Think of the revolution. Don't think of Joe. It's okay, Nick. Just think of the revolution.
Think of the revolution. It's just seeing how much he was taken advantage of, and how Elizabeth Warren carefully orchestrated that hit job after the debate.
Right.
Like, she deliberately did not talk about it a whole lot during the debate, because she knew that was going to happen afterwards.
Yeah.
She knew the hot mic was going to catch her. She knew this, she knew that. She knew CNN was going to be complicit. And it's like, sure, we'll air this random recording of things, but not record any other recordings of other random hot mic moments you've gotten over the years. Yeah, whatever, that's fine.
Unlike all the disinformation or the dishonest framing, even outside of the debate, I saw a clip from CNN where it's like, well, this is a published news story. I can't believe that anyone would think it was false. I can't believe that he would say he didn't say that. This is a published news story. It's real.
It's real. Trust us on our reporting.
Right. Because you've got these 4 sources, none of which were in the room. And that's another piece of disinformation. I had a well-meaning friend come at me and say that, there's these 4 sources and several of them were in the room. No, that's not true. They all heard it secondhand. There's only really one source. It's Elizabeth Warren.
Don't worry, humans. Nick and Jackie will be back to talk more about things they love next week. Unless Master Bezos has something to say about it. Patrons make interviews like this one possible, so Daddy Bezos will be buying that website soon to put an end to these shenanigans.